Hello, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to the Cloud English Podcast. We have many things to talk about. Today, it is Wednesday, November 9th, 2073. Very excited to share a lot of interesting grammar points with you today. We have many things to cover. We are going to be talking about, if you're able to see me here, and what I'm pointing at, the objectives for grammar modeling. That means a way to learn grammar so that you can actually gain an intuition for it, rather than having to learn a bunch of stupid grammar names. Now, I'll be mentioning some of the grammar names, but I don't want to emphasize that that's what you should be learning. Instead, you should be developing your intuition. We'll talk about that. We'll look at some examples, of course. We will also be talking about today stative verbs. Now, this is a specific type of verb. We have to understand what it is. Again, I don't want you to get hung up on what something is called. I do have to call it something, though. Okay, it's a stative verb. We'll get into it, and of course there are going to be many examples because I want you to gain an intuition for that. And once you do, I think it'll be pretty easy to use in your daily life, okay? All about grammar today, except for the phrasal verb. Now, you could argue that phrasal verbs kind of grammar. I would say phrasal verbs are more in the area or the territory of learning vocabulary and learning idioms, colloquialisms. Phrasal verbs is what they're called. They're phrases, right? So we're going to be talking about a very interesting one, and I have a video to share to sort of give it more context. That's going to be on the blackboard. So is modeling, but I have another way to share the state of verbs. We're going to be going through some slides. Okay? So that's the basic agenda. Now, before we really get into it, right? Just a couple things I want you to know, and a couple things I'd like you to keep in mind, a couple things I hope you can do or check out or see. Okay, so number one, if you enjoy watching or listening to the podcast, then I would really appreciate if you could show support wherever you're able to do so by clicking whatever button allows you to do that, whether that is a like button or a thumbs up button, or something, a heart button, something along those lines, right? That's a small thing you can do, which the algorithms love to see. It shows the algorithms that you think it's good and useful, and other people should check it out too. You can also subscribe if you want to get notified when we do live streams or when I post a new video or anything along those lines. So make sure you are subscribed. Now, if you'd like to, you can also join the free Discord server. If you don't know what Discord is, you know what? It's just basically it's a messenger app like WhatsApp or Signal, except it's got more community features, and you can open up different threads or different topics. It's a bit more feature-rich and better for building a community. For the time being, it is free. I'm not going to promise that it will be free forever, right? But for the time being, it's free, so you can join that by clicking the link in the description. You'll see it labeled there under Free English Community. Okay, so that's Discord. If you don't have Discord, you can download it on your computer. You could download it on your telephone. You can even download it on your fax machine, believe it or not. I'm not sure if you can download it onto a payphone, but don't let me stop you from trying. A quick sip of coffee. Thank you very much for that coffee. Kathy, whoa, double strong. Very nice. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Yes. No, we're good. That's fine. I told them about the Discord. All right. Thank you for reminding me. Geez, I almost forgot. Thank you, Kathy. Wow. Always looking out for my best interests. Kathy is. So, if you'd like to check out my latest course, I'm very excited about this course. It is, in fact, connected to some of the stuff we're going to be talking about today. One of the examples I'm going to be sharing is an exclusive from that course. The course launched this morning. And again, I'm recording this on November 9th, this morning. This course is 9 hours long, and it is about English writing. So if you're concerned about the quality of your writing, maybe you feel like your writing is unclear, vague, clunky, awkward, and it doesn't represent you well, this is definitely the course to take. If you feel like, I speak English pretty well, my brain is pretty clear in English, but when I try to put it down in words in writing, it's just, it's kind of fuzzy, it's kind of unclear, it's kind of awkward, it causes misunderstandings. This is definitely the course to take. 9 hours long, covering the fundamentals, covering a bunch of different grammar that you need to write well, how to use punctuation correctly, a bunch of the things that you need for structuring your writing so that it's very clear, organizing your sentences, the different pieces and parts of sentences, exercises for how to improve your writing over time, a bunch of tips for making sure your writing is clear, right? How to structure essays, for example, if you're working on writing a cover letter, or you're planning to take the IELTS or TOEFL writing exams, this, again, is the course to take. It is not specifically dedicated to TOEFL or IELTS essay writing. However, the essay section, and I would argue the rest of the course, would be highly relevant and highly useful to someone taking those exams and doing well in the writing part, because it talks about how to outline ideas, how to structure a paragraph, how to structure using an outline the entire essay and make sure the different paragraphs fit together well, and a bunch of different prompts that you can use to practice writing. So enough about that. If you would like to check that out, you can watch the first few lessons for free, and also, of course, the preview of the course, and you can pick it up within the next couple of days for the lowest possible price I'm able to offer it at. For now, it is on Udemy, okay? So you can check it out on Udemy at, again, the lowest price I'm able to offer it at. Whenever I launch a course, I try to make it as low as possible so that people can jump on board, and especially you guys who are following me, get the best deal, okay? Wow, that's a lot of stuff. Okay? But we made it through, and I feel like I need to take a small brain break. 1, 2, 3. All right, we're good. Kathy, are you good? Okay, we're good. So let's get into it. Those viewing live today, I will be getting to questions later once we get through the stative verbs and modeling. So keep the questions coming. I'll be going through those as best I can. I'm going to be getting right into the topics, though, to start. So we're going to be doing that right off the bat, a few topics, then the questions. I recommend keeping your questions specifically to grammar, because that's the main topic for today. But who am I to tell you what to do, right? Now, with the topics, I'm going to be giving you also challenges, what I'd like you to do next, essentially, to practice. So you learn. Input, that's good, great. But if you just have input, how are you going to improve your tennis backhand, right? The tennis coach tells you how to do it. Okay, the next important thing is then to do it. So if you're really serious about improving your grammar, and in this 15-day program we've been doing, it's really important, as I've said 1,000 times, to have that output. The output is essential. If you don't have the output, you're not going to build the habits to be able to use what you learn well. And if you don't use what you learn, you can't, because you don't have those habits. Think of it in the moment when you're under pressure, when someone asks you a question. Those things have to be habitual, automatic, okay? Which is, by the way, another thing that the course covers. But who's counting? Who cares? Okay, let's get into first our modeling activity. And you might think, modeling, what the heck is that? Okay, well, let me explain what modeling is and how modeling works, okay? If you're let's say you're starting a business, okay? And you have a very small budget for starting your business. You say to yourself, I want to have a website so that people can find out information about my business, right? And I want to make sure that that website is well structured, the information is clear, right? That I'm presenting things professionally. But I don't have a lot of experience doing that. I can use, I don't know, Squarespace or something like that, or Wix to make a simple website. But again, I don't have the team of 20 researchers to tell me what is exactly the best structure and how to organize the checkout for people who want to buy things, right? Okay, well, what could you do there? You could think of the companies who do it well, who are at the best at it, as your R&D department, right? So what you do is you go onto Amazon, you go onto Apple, and you look at their flow. You look at their website, and you don't copy it exactly because maybe you're not selling computers or a bunch of random stuff. This is just an example. What you do is you look at what they're doing and you ask yourself, what is it about what they're doing? What is it about that makes it work? And how could I copy some of the same principles that they're using, the same basic ideas, to make it then my own, which will hopefully allow it to work, right? How can I take that as a model? So you model it and say the checkout will follow generally Amazon's checkout process. But I'll change a few things, but I'm generally going to keep it like that, right? Or maybe the homepage of Apple's website. It flows so nicely the way that they organize everything. I'm going to model that basic structure, with of course, my own content. Okay, so why am I talking about that? E-commerce. Oh, it's because I think you can do the same thing for grammar. There are a few different ways to learn grammar. One way is to basically take a structure from a grammar book and a couple of examples, and then try to put the sentences, your own practice sentences, together using that structure. Subject plus blah, 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 plus ing, blah, blah, blah. And it's okay. It can work. It can be a good way to do it. But to be honest with you, it's not a great way of giving you an intuition for that. But instead, if you want to learn grammar, this is how you model. If you take a complex sentence or sentences, start with one sentence, that is not very familiar to you, and you say, okay, what is the basic structure here? Then you simplify it so that it kind of is in its basic skeleton form, the bones of the sentence. You now have a basic understanding of how it works. Then you take those bones, that basic structure of that sentence, and then you build out more sentences based on that. It's a kind of play, right? But by modeling it in this way, you're learning grammar without having to learn what everything's called. You're learning grammar in the way that native speakers of any language learn the grammar of their language. That intuition comes from seeing the examples, kind of playing with it, looking at it, and trying to make your own. And it is not that important to know, okay, this is a relative clause, or that's the subject, or there's a past participle over there, or something like that, right? Or you've dangled your participles. Get that dangling modifier off my lawn, right? That sort of thing is one way, this modeling technique. And that's why I mention the e-commerce approach. You're kind of using an example from someone else, something that's good, to then hack your brain a little bit to understand what's going on. Then you can start using it yourself, right? So why don't we just look at some examples here? We go through the process. I'll just quickly write it down for you so that you can have the basic steps, and then we're going to look at the example, all right? So one, we look at let's put it in quotes, good example sentence. Step 2, reduce that sentence to its bones. That means we simplify it so that we can see, oh, I see the structure, right? If you say, Shirley Maddox gave an ornate opalescent screwdriver to her dearest comrade in arms, Gregory, right? You can simplify that as whoever I said. What's the name? I forget the name. Janice? Janice gave a screwdriver to... I forget the other name already. Janice gave a screwdriver to Freddie. Right? So that's the simplified... Those are the bones. And then we've added a bunch of outrageous adjectives there to make it look more complicated when it's not. Okay. That's amazing how I forgot those names so fast. I'm losing it. Getting old. Reduce that sentence to its bones. And then 3, make a new sentence with those bones. And when I say bones, you know what I mean. I'm talking about the structure, right? The basic structure. You can change the meaning. You can change a lot of things. But we're just talking about the basic structure. Okay. Now that my eraser's huge. If you're listening to this rather than watching, I'm going to be saying as much as I can so that you can understand by listening. But if you hear me writing here, I'm writing on the blackboard. I like to write things down and mark things because I think that really helps it click. If you see it kind of in a process, that's why I don't only use slides. Okay, so let's look at our first example. Now, if you take my writing course, you will recognize this example. I'm using an example from the course. So if you want to learn more stuff like this, definitely check out the 9-hour writing course. Mike, who had spent almost $1 million on an underground bunker, fearing some world-ending catastrophe, discovered that the most likely future threat was coded into his DNA. I said coded, not coated. Okay? All right. So what's going on here? Step 1, we've chosen our sentence. Step 1 is actually complete. So the challenging part is to simplify this. Okay, so we have a subject. This is Mike. Subject is what the sentence is about. It's about Mike generally. And then we have a comma after that and a who. Okay, well, a comma after it followed by a who is going to tell us that, and oh, look, there's another comma then at the end of this, that this whole piece between the commas is kind of like extra information. Now, if you want to know what this is called, it is called a relative clause, right? And it is not an essential relative clause. It is what's called a non-essential relative clause. Again, grammar words, so who cares, right? But essentially what that means is if you wanted to, you could remove the entire piece between the commas, and it would not affect negatively the meaning of the whole sentence. In other words, the whole sentence is in place. The whole sentence works by itself, and we have inserted extra or bonus information. It's non-essential or not essential because it can be removed. So Mike, who had spent almost $1 million on an underground bunker, comma, fearing some world-ending catastrophe, comma, why don't we just say Mike, comma, fearing some world-ending catastrophe, comma, great, right? So I can remove that whole thing if I want to. Just so you know, all right? So we have that bonus information. But then, right, we have another comma and another comma. So we have Mike, who had spent almost $1 million on an underground bunker, comma, fearing some world-ending catastrophe. Catastrophe is like a disaster, comma. Wait a second. This is another thing between two commas, which is bonus information. So we have two chunks of bonus information, And we could remove both of them. Because if I take both of these out, both of the things between the commas, and just read the sentence as it is with its basic structure, it goes like this. Mike discovered that. Take it all out. Okay, so that's just to notice the sort of basic structure, right? And I could take one or the other out. I could say Mike, who had spent almost $1 million on an underground bunker, discovered. Or I could say Mike, fearing some world-ending catastrophe, discovered. Or I can choose to put both there. I made this to point out that some things that make sentences look very long and complicated are actually not complicated at all. Who had spent $1 million on an underground bunker? If we took that and we replaced the word who with Mike, then there would just be a sentence there. Mike had spent almost $1 million on an underground bunker, right? Okay. Now it's a little different with fearing some world-ending catastrophe. We'd have to change the grammar a little bit for that to be a standalone sentence, but it's the same basic idea. Okay, so we've got that now. Now, what about the rest of it? Discovered that the most likely future threat was coded into his DNA. So Mike discovered something. What did he discover? He discovered that his worries about the world ending, all of the bunkers and nuclear war and all of that stuff that he's afraid of, zombies and maybe giant chickens or turkeys, giant turkeys, apocalypse, whatever he's afraid of, he found out that actually it's in his DNA. Maybe he's the first zombie or something like that. And he took a Tylenol that had zombie DNA in it, and now it's in his DNA. So let's simplify that. Mike discovered that the danger was discovered that the most likely future threat, that's all extra too. We don't need to have all of that. Discovered that the most likely future threat, the danger. Okay, we could replace that with the danger. Discovered that the danger was coded into his DNA. Sure, we could say that, but why don't we just simplify that was in his DNA? Oh, okay, that's simpler. So the ultimate simplicity here would be Mike discovered that the most likely danger was in his DNA. Well, that's suddenly very simple, right? But we want to practice the relative clauses and the bonus information. So what we'll do is include some of that in our skeleton, in our bones sentences to practice modeling, right? So let's look at then a simplified version of this so that we can then use it as an example to then build other sentences with completely different meaning. All right, so let's do that. Here we go. Mike, who had spent a lot of money on a bunker. So Mike, comma, who had spent a lot of money on a bunker, comma, fearing a disaster. So we've still got those two things there, right, between the commas. It's just that they're a lot simpler now. This is way shorter. Mike, who had spent a lot of money on a bunker, fearing a disaster, learned that the most dangerous threat was in his DNA. Okay, so this is much, much simpler. Do we have the same basic structure here? We've got Mike, the subject, the comma, the who, the relative clause, right? Then the something about the who. Mike had spent a lot of money on a bunker, okay. And then another comma, and then more bonus information. We started the last one with ing, so let's use ing. Fearing, okay. Worrying about, fearing a disaster. Instead of all of that, some world-ending catastrophe, we just simplify it to fearing a disaster. Okay, fearing, and then something after that. And then we have the verb that's actually connected to Mike, because we could remove all of that, remember, and just say, Mike learned, okay? So, learned that the most dangerous threat was in his DNA. The basic structure of the sentence, again, is Mike learned that the most dangerous threat was in his DNA. And then those two pieces, which are still there, are simpler, shorter, but remain. Okay, the relative clause followed by the parenthetical which starts with fearing. Again, don't worry too much about what this is called, And if you can't see this, make sure you maybe go to where YouTube is probably the best place to find it and look at the example. Or, again, you can see this example also in the course. This is one thing I talk about in the course in a bit more detail, though, to be honest with you. Okay, so now notice that we haven't really spent a lot of time defining grammatical terms, or we haven't spent a lot of time writing out little diagrams. We haven't spent a lot of time doing SUB plus SUB comma plus comma plus relative pronoun plus. Okay, we haven't done all of that stuff that we could have done, but I really want us to emphasize what's more important here, which is kind of feeling it. And I know that's often not comfortable, but that's how language learners learn languages. They do it by getting exposure to a lot of different grammatical structures and then playing with those and doing it themselves. That's how every native speaker of any language has done it, right? Okay, so now we look at another example using the same basic structure, but we change the meaning. So remember, step 3 now is we completely change the meaning. Okay, so let's look at that. Elsa, who had recently accepted an offer from a local school, assuming that it was her only option, got the news that she had been offered a full scholarship from Harvard. Okay, well, this has nothing to do with the impending apocalypse or DNA or building an underground bunker. So we can see that the meaning has completely changed. It's not the same at all. But if we look carefully, we can see that the essential structure is not different. Elsa, okay, so we have the subject there with a comma, who, okay, that's still there. And then we have something about Elsa, who had recently accepted an offer from a local school, who had recently spent a lot of money on an underground bunker. Same thing, it's just a regular sentence, then a comma, then an ing verb, instead of, was it worrying before? Fearing, right? Fearing some world-ending catastrophe, fearing a disaster. Well, this one is assuming, ing, but we're changing the content. Assuming that it was her only option. Again, we have to then check, could we remove both of these and see if it is actually the same basic structure? Could we remove both and just have Elsa followed immediately by the verb about the subject, the main predicate, which is got? Well, okay. Elsa got the news that she had been offered a full scholarship from Harvard. Yes, absolutely. So we can see that both of these two things between the commas are bonus information. They don't need to be here. They can be removed. We've got the verb, the predicate, which is about the subject. Don't worry about what the predicate is. It's the verb about the subject. That's got, so that's the main verb. And then after that, we just say something about Elsa. After we've given the context of this bonus information, well, tell me about Elsa. She got the news that she had been offered a full scholarship from Harvard. And the original sentence that we had was discovered that the most likely future threat was coded into his DNA. So we've just made a simple sentence. So if I were doing this, I would start with the simple sentence. The simple sentence is, Elsa got the news that she, or Mike discovered that the most likely future threat, then add in the extra information between the commas, the first one being a relative clause with who, or if you want to do something about a thing, maybe which instead of who, then an ing to give more bonus information, and then you'll find, wow, I've created a long and complex looking sentence that I actually fully understand. I can understand the grammar going on here, even though I may not know what everything is called. And that, my friends, is the beautiful point, okay? Again, once you do this a few times, I think you'll have a kind of intuition for it. And that's what I want. So my challenge for you is this. I want you to take the bones that I have, right? I would like you to make 2 to 3 variations based on that basic structure about different things. Each one should be completely different. Once you practice this and get a feel for it, you're going to find that it's then very easy to use, particularly in your writing. All right? Now, if you want to learn more stuff like this is just one simple grammar example. I talk about this and many more things in my full course on writing. That is currently on sale. It is, I think, a very good course. It's 9 hours. It talks about putting structures together. It talks about the grammar stuff like this, of course, all by example. It focuses on tips and methods for writing clearly, things to avoid, things to make sure you do, how to write essays, other exercises. There's tons and tons of stuff. So check that out. It is called Master English Writing, and all you have to do is go to the link in the description, click on that, and you can get the lowest possible price. Okay? So submit the challenge. Send it to me. You can put it in the comments if you want, or if you'd like to put it in the challenge submission in the Discord, which is something that you can join for free. And if you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Okay. Well, hopefully you guys are working on that stuff, working on your own variation. I'm sorry I started late today. I normally start, I started almost 4 hours late today, and I deeply apologize for that. Life events conspired to prevent me from starting on time. I will say that. Something happened in regards to my house. I was about to start, and then there was a person here who was doing an inspection of something. He had to do measurements, and I had to kind of be there for that. And then some other thing, a bunch of stuff happened. So life happened, but here we are anyway. So if you're upset that this started later than usual, I do apologize. I will try to get back into the habit, of course, of starting on time at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which I will be doing on Friday. And I do see also that many people enjoyed the conversation that I did with Mushroom on Saturday. We're going to keep doing those conversations for the time being. Although in 2 weeks, we're going to be in Ohio, I think, for a little while. So we may do it from there, hopefully. That would be good. Maybe a Q&A. We can do a Q&A there. That'll be Thanksgiving with my family in Ohio. Okay. So we have talked about modeling. If you've got questions and you're watching live, I will get to the questions, but we're going to talk about stative verbs first. Again, would appreciate if you could hit the like button and subscribe. That means a lot. If you want to get updates from me, blogs and notices about courses and all of that stuff, you can go to my website at lukepretty.com. On my website, you can get a free course, Natural English Conversations. Of course, you can always do that, and sign up to get emails from me. I'm usually sending those out maybe once a week. So I'm not going to be spamming you like crazy. I may be sending you a blog that I wrote, or I might be sending you a notice about something, or a few things. So anyway, do that if you like, if you want to. And also join the Discord. A sip of coffee is called for. Okay. All right. I apologize if the swallowing noise is too loud. Is that really loud? I hate mukbang for that reason. Mukbangs are so noisy. The ones where they're mostly cooking, there's one that my wife and I watch where the girl is mostly cooking, and then she does eat, and I usually stop watching when she starts eating. I like to watch the cooking part. I like watching cooking videos, right? But once they start eating and there's a lot of sort of those sounds, I'm out. I'm sorry. There's another Korean girl who does it that we sometimes watch, and she doesn't emphasize the noises so much. she will go to a restaurant and eat just a ridiculous amount of food. She'll spend maybe 2 hours just shoving food into her face. She's not fat, which is mind-blowing. I know that some of them do purging, where they'll eat a bunch and then they'll make themselves throw up. But I don't think she does that. But it's amazing how much she eats. She will eat enough food for maybe 6 people in one setting, and I have no idea how she does that. It's ridiculous. But she doesn't have the microphones on her mouth with the eating noises, so that's better for me to watch. I can deal with that, but still not my favorite, right? Cooking, yes. Maybe we'll look at some 电气小哥 later. That's my favorite cooking channel of all time. Okay, so let's talk about state of verbs. Let me pull this up to remind myself about what I want to do later. Let's pull this up later. Okay, so state of verbs. What the heck is one of those? A stative verb is simply a verb about a condition, not about an ongoing action, right? We have lots of different verbs. For example, the verb jump, that's about an action that somebody does. They go up in the air and they go down. What did they do? They jumped. Is he jumping? He's jumping. Wow, he jumped. He's a jumper. No, don't say that. No, that has another meaning. So what about things like it feels nice, or it tastes weird, or I have one, or I know? Is saying stuff like that the same as jumping? It's not. Think of it as more like a condition, right? If you know something, if you taste something. Now that taste is a weird one, so there's a bit of, we'll talk about taste because that's an interesting one. But if something tastes weird, is it the same as jumping, right? Yeah, there's something different about that, right? There's something different about that kind of verb. Well, what is going on there? I think the best thing to do here is explore this with some examples. Stative verbs. These, again, to understand them, they focus on senses, how we think, the way that we feel, a condition, maybe having something or lacking something. Again, if you have $100, there's something very different about you having that $100 than you jumping. Because you may have that $100 all day long until you don't have it anymore, but you don't jump, you're not in the air all day long. When you jumped, you just quickly went up and then came down. An action verb, right? Okay, that's the idea. But I think we need to look at some examples of what it is and what it is not so that you can really get it. And then I'm going to give you a challenge, okay? So we'll talk about how to use stative verbs. We'll look at the examples. Then I'm going to ask you to come up with some of your own. All right, so let's say seem. Okay, seem. If I say, you seem tired, you seem a bit tired, that is how you are now. That is your condition, right? Now, could I say, you are seeming a bit tired? Suddenly, it sounds odd. What is going on there? Why does it sound odd? It sounds odd because it's not really an action you're doing. It's about your current condition, right? And the way that you kind of are right now. At least to me, I think you seem tired. So you're not doing that in the same way that you're jumping, right? Or you're drinking. I'm drinking a cup of coffee. That is your ongoing action. So for stative verbs, we don't usually use them in the ing form. In the, for example, continuous present form. The continuous present would be, I am walking, we are running, we are watching TV, we were eating. That would be the past present progressive or the past continuous progressive, right? So past progressive or past continuous, not past continuous progressive. They're the same thing. Okay, anyway. So that's the idea. And that's a good test you can do. If you want to know if something is a stative verb or not, you can ask yourself, does it work if I add an ing to it? You are seeming tired. Well, no. You're walking. Oh, yeah, that's an ongoing action. Seeming isn't really one of those. Okay. How about no? We talked about no. Do you know what time it is? Do you know what time it is? Yeah, I do. Okay. Well, how about now? Do you know what time it is? Yeah, I do. Do you know what time it is? No, I don't. Okay. So you can know or not know, but that's your condition. You knowing or not knowing is your state, your condition. So saying, are you knowing it? It's odd. It sounds awkward, right? Taste. This tastes like cotton candy. That's how it tastes to me when I do that. This is tasting like cotton candy. I'm talking about the condition of me in relation to the cotton candy and how it's kind of like seems, right? This seems like cotton candy. This tastes like cotton candy. It's not cotton candy, but I'm comparing it to that. Now, this is an interesting one, specifically with taste, and there are some other interesting ones as well, where they could be both, depending on how it's used. If we say we're tasting wine, right? Or I tasted it and I didn't like it, then it suddenly becomes an action verb. So taste could be used in either way. Sometimes taste is used as a stative verb, and sometimes taste is used as a simple, regular action verb. Like this. I tasted the coffee. It was too bitter. So that's my action of going, ooh, bitter, right? That's the action I'm doing. But if I describe it, it tastes like cotton candy. No longer is it about me doing that thing. It's about the way that it is. Now, it's kind of condition, or it's condition in my mind at least, right? It's not about the cotton candy, it's about my sense of the cotton candy. So when we're talking about senses, using taste like that, and it's a stative verb, then we would not say, this is tasting like cotton candy, probably. But if it's the action, we go to a wine tasting to taste wine, then it's suddenly an action. Okay, how about need? Elaine needs time to consider. So she needs some time to think. That's what she needs. Okay? Was she doing that? No, it's just her current condition. She is needing time to consider? No. Does that mean you can never, ever, ever, ever use the word needing? No, it doesn't mean that, right? It's just that need by itself is usually, if it's a stative verb, not used as an ing. Not that need can never be written as an ing or used as an ing. Because you might use, for example, needing as a gerund, which is ing used similar to a noun. For example, needing privacy is normal. Needing privacy is normal. Okay, well, that's using needing as an ing, but it's actually needing privacy, the thing we're talking about. It's actually a gerund. So don't get confused and say to yourself, oh, that means I can never use needing with an ing. No, that's not what I said. I said that needing would not be correct in this case because in this case, when we're talking about her condition, Elaine's condition, we're going to use it simply with, or as its simple form that agrees with the subject, in this case, needs, because it's about her condition, okay? They have a lot on their plate. That's their condition. I think we're probably getting used to that feeling now. Okay, this is about what's going on with them. It's about their condition, their state. We're starting to get a sense for that. They are having a lot on their plate. Suddenly sounds weird, right? Something wrong with that. I hate this new screen. I'm hating this new screen. Now, you might be thinking, okay, well then I hate, got it. I'm hating my current condition. It's not really an action. That's a little weird. Okay, I get that. So that would be the same for love, right? So I'm loving it. would be wrong, right? Normally, I would say yes, but then we get into the territory of what we could call a colloquialism, where some patterns are things people say arrive in the language, and it's not clear why, but hey, people just say it, right? So you might be thinking, wait, isn't the slogan of McDonald's, ba-da-ba-bum-bum, I'm loving it? Yes, it is. If everything in the world followed grammar, right, then it would be a little weird to say I'm loving it, because normally if that's true about you and that's your condition, you would just say I love it, right? I love it. But I'm loving it, maybe even I'm hating it, but generally I'm loving it kind of came out as a expression, as an idiom, sort of a colloquialism. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm not exactly sure where it came from. People will just say, yeah, I'm loving it when they like something. Okay, and then McDonald's said, we think that's better. They probably chose it because to just say, I love it isn't very memorable, but there's something kind of memorable saying I'm loving it. It sounds friendly and colloquial and very spoken, right? And the little ba-da-ba-bum-bum, that little song that they play, it works. It's very memorable. Well, they can do that if they want to, right? Think different. That's a famous slogan that Apple used in the past. It doesn't make grammatical sense, but it doesn't have to necessarily, because it's trying to make you remember and think different instead of following the rules of grammar. Okay, I'm trying to just give you a sense for how these work. So, now that we've gone through these examples, we've talked about what a stative verb is. Generally, we're talking about a condition or a taste or a feeling of something that's true about this person or true about this situation. We've talked about what it means. We've looked at examples and that we don't usually use stative verbs in the, for example, present continuous tense because we're not really doing them. We are them. That is our condition, right? So what I'd like you to do is make 2 examples modeling each of the correct stative verb sentences. So take each of the sentences that I went over and then make 2 of your own examples based on that with those specific verbs. I think if you do that, at least you will have a very intuitive sense, a very natural sense for how to use them naturally, okay? So good luck with that. Let me know if you have any questions. You can put them in the Discord or you can put them in the comments. That works, whatever you prefer. I would love to take a look at them. If you haven't already done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. And also, if you want to learn more about this stuff, if you want to improve your grammar and your writing, check out my courses in the links in the description. Okay. All right, so that's stative verbs. I would say it's safe to say that we have talked about stative verbs and modeling. So we're really getting there. We have some phrasal verbs to talk about, and we have another thing I want to go over if we have time. But let's see. If you guys have questions about this stuff, the stuff that we've been talking about, Danny, Mariam, great to have you. Beautiful, crazy, Sarzam. If you have questions about grammar, if you have questions about specifically stative verbs or modeling, now would be a good time to ask. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have. Okay. In the meantime, I do have something I want to talk about, namely phrasal verbs. Now, phrasal verbs, as you know, are interesting because they have different meanings. We're going to be talking about get out, which has a lot of different meanings, and I'm also going to be showing a video clip. Because I have a white thing on my shirt. Let me get that off. I'm also going to be showing a video clip of Elaine Bennett from Seinfeld saying get out a number of times. She uses it mostly the same way, but then once or twice she uses it a different way. And I think that's particularly interesting. So let's hop over to the blackboard let's do that. And let's talk about get out, shall we? Shall we? Oh, you know what? Let me quickly do this. One thing I forgot to do is actually share the link to the I always forget to share the link to the live when we're doing it live to the Discord, and I should probably do that. So let me quickly do that, even though we're well past the halfway point. Who cares? Who cares? Okay, give me 1 second, friendly friends, and then we'll get into phrasal verbs, and then we will get out of here. All right. Okay, so get out. Let's talk about that. Let me get my pen out. Man, let me take a sip of coffee. I know I keep delaying. Because that's what I do. I delay. Okay. What's the first thing that you think about when I say get out? I'm guessing maybe you're thinking, I want you to leave, right? You're in a room and I'm in a room and I don't want you to be in this room and I want you to leave this room, so I say, get out. And that's quite rude, but it is accurate. You're right about that. However, as with many phrasal verbs, many meanings, of course. So let's explore the phrasal verb get out with examples. Try to understand how it is, how it works with those examples. Then I have a challenge for you to make your own examples with mine. So make sure you're taking notes or paying very careful attention, all right? So let's go through our first set of examples. And for this one, we have 5 sets of examples. So this one is really interesting. And after we do this, again, I'm going to be showing a couple of clips from a famous TV show that will give you a better, I think, sense for the usage of get out. Okay. I just want to get out of here. We were trapped in the elevator for an hour. It was a relief to get out. I promise we will get you out of there. Just be patient. We were able to get out just before the rush started. Okay, so these all have the same basic theme. This get out can be used similar to escape or leave a bad situation. I'm going to write situation down here. To leave a bad bad. Oh, I can't write. Bad, B-A-D. Okay, to leave a bad situation, okay? But the severity of these is totally different. Because if I say I just want to get out of here, I could be in the middle of a horror movie, chained to a bed with, someone about to cut my arms off, or I could be at a dinner party that's boring. Those are very extreme. In the first case, I just want to get out of here. I just say it like that. In the second, I'm at a dinner party and I whispered to my dinner companion, I just want to get out of here. It's so bored. These people are so boring. I just want to get out of here. Let's go. Yeah. So the same thing. I just want to escape or leave, but the severity of these completely different. One is life and death, and another is more social, right? Okay. We're trapped in an elevator for an hour. It was a relief to get out. Physically, I was stuck in the elevator, the lift. I wanted to leave it because I couldn't get out. And then the fire department came and they pried the doors open and they said, "Oh, are you okay?" And we got out. It was such a relief to get out. This, by the way, did happen to me a couple of years ago. I got stuck in the basement floor elevator in my building, my apartment building where I used to live. And it was not fun, but I did post a video about it. So you can check that out on my YouTube channel if you want. Okay, I promise we will get you out of there. Just be patient. That could be the fireman who's going to get you out, they yell down before they get you out, we're gonna get you out of there. Be patient, right? We'll get you out of there. So that's someone promising to rescue you. But again, that could be back to the dinner party, right? And the friend is in a conversation with 9 people. They want to escape this boring conversation, and a friend texts them and says, "We'll be there in 5 minutes. I promise we'll get you out of there." Get you out of being bored. It's sort of make an excuse to say, "Carolyn, we need you," and then if we just leave, right? So the severity could be very different for that as well. We were able to get out just before the rush started. Now, for this one, this might be a big event, and people are all leaving after the event. We leave 5 minutes early. Therefore, we were able to get into the car and leave before there was a lot of traffic, just before the rush started. So there, maybe I'm expressing, I'm glad I left early, right? But if we're talking about the Titanic, we're able to get out of maybe our compartment on the Titanic just before they closed the seal doors that would have trapped us in that compartment in the ship, and we would have died. So we were able to get out just in time would be a very common expression here. Just in time. Sometimes you hear just in the nick of time or just in time. That's a very common expression. We got out just in time. Again, different severity. Just in time, or we would have died. Just in time, or we would have been stuck in traffic. Those are 2 very different levels, but notice that we're using exactly the same expression to talk about those different levels. Okay, so now let's go to our second set. And there will be some similarities with these, but we're exploring different meanings. Okay. We should get out of the way. You're fired. Get out of my office. Get the hell out of my face. I don't ever want to see you again. Okay. So if we are standing somewhere, right, and we see maybe, well, what would be a good example? People fighting. Okay, there's a fight. A brawl breaks out on the street. We're just standing there, enjoying ourselves, having a beer on the street. Not in America, in Europe, perhaps. And people start fighting, and then we say, well, we should get out of the way. Being in the way means we might get injured, or something might happen to cause us to get pulled into the fight, or someone could throw a chair and it could hit us in the face. So let's move away. So if there are things going on, it's not that you're leaving the situation, you're just leaving the area of danger, right? That's why we say getting out of the way. If a car is driving or a bicyclist or a car is driving very quickly or going very quickly down the street because they don't have brakes and they can't stop, someone might shout, "Get out of the way, get out of the way," to warn you to not be in the street. So being in the way is like being in the path of danger, being in the possible path of causing problems. If there's an ambulance and they're putting someone in the ambulance, we want to maybe take a few steps back because we don't want to prevent them from doing what they want to do, or the ambulance people need to do, the paramedics need to do. So we get out of the way, meaning, again, we're not leaving this place, but we're leaving the area of danger, or we're leaving the path of danger in the case of the runaway bicycle or car. But then "you're fired, get out of my office" is leaving, but now it's no longer an escape. So before we were talking about getting out just in time, but now we're talking about getting out of a room, not just in time, but because someone has told us to. Someone is saying, if you don't, I will call security. You get fired because you made a huge mistake. Your boss is furious. You're fired. Get out of my office. Okay, well, that's obviously extreme and rude, of course, but you hear that sort of thing in movies all the time. Get out of my office. Get the hell out of my face. Now, that doesn't mean that you're in my face, but it just means you're close to me. You're in front of me. I don't like it. I'm angry. We're fighting about something, and so I'm yelling at you, "Get the hell out of my face. I don't ever want to see you again." Maybe a couple's quarrel, a lover's quarrel, maybe 2 friends who are just splitting up. maybe someone is just very hot-tempered. It just means get away from me, get out of my face, right, is when you want to express anger. Of course, it's not polite, but it is very common. Okay, so we've talked about 2, and we have 3 left to go. You won the lottery. Get out of here. Get out of here. Okay, and pardon the language, but get the fuck out of here. I don't believe that for a second. Get out of here with that kind of talk. Okay, now are we saying to physically leave? No. This is expressing now a kind of disbelief, a kind of shock. How could this be, right? You won the lottery, get out of here. That means for a second I can't believe it. Now maybe I accept that you did, but I'm just expressing my shock. Sometimes this is used to simply express the emotion of, what? Wow, crazy, insane, unbelievable. And I actually do believe what you're saying. You just won $1.3 million. Wow, that's amazing. Get out of here. Wow. Okay, but sometimes I actually don't believe you, and you need to prove it to me, or I need to think about it for a little while, or something needs to happen before I will start to believe it. So this is a sort of colloquial way to say it, and I put this word in here. I put the word fuck in here because that's such a common thing that you hear people say to each other. And I also spelled out of, O-U-T-T-A. Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here with that. You hear people colloquially, casually say that in spoken language just to express this feeling of, I don't believe you, right? And you're saying that to me, but I don't believe it. Now, of course, you choose if you want to use that word or not. I'm just trying to give you a really broad sense for this. And this is the meaning that we're going to see mostly in the video. Get out of here with that kind of talk. This one probably doesn't mean that I don't believe you. This one is probably like, that's unacceptable. Maybe you're really depressed and you're down on yourself and you're saying, I can't do it. I'll never make it. I'll never succeed. I'll never become a professional ballet dancer. And I don't want to hear your depressed, pessimistic attitude. Get out of here with that kind of talk. Yes, you can. You're going to be a professional ballet dancer. You're so good. You just have to believe in yourself. So I'm not actually telling you to leave. I'm not actually telling you to get out of here. In this case, what I'm trying to say is that kind of talk isn't called for. You shouldn't say that kind of thing, right? Get out of here with that. If you add the with that thing, now it's not that I don't believe you. If I just say get out of here, it's like you're crazy, or I don't believe you, or I'm shocked. Get out of here. What? But get out of here with that is like that needs to get out of here. The attitude needs to get out of here, not you. Okay, so that's an important and I think pretty interesting difference. All right, let's keep going as we explore this. Make sure you're paying attention to each of the uses and meanings here. Things are getting out of hand. It's getting a bit out of control. The party got out of hand. So if things are getting out of hand, getting out of control, or they got out of hand, and out of hand, out of control, these are the common expressions we use. We use get to suggest that it's happening. It's currently underway. Or if it's in the past, then we might use got instead. So basically, the idea is if things are getting out of hand, maybe there's a party. Let's say there's a party going on, and then people start drinking a little too much, and someone jumps in the pool and gets injured because they jumped off of the roof, and another person throws a watermelon through the kitchen window, and someone else slides down the stairs on a mattress. Okay, this party is no longer in the area of a normal party. It is out of control. It may require the police to come and restore the peace. So the party is out of hand. But you might have a mob or a crowd of people who are storming someplace or protesting, or maybe there's a sports competition, a match or something like that, and the fans of one team, they go out in the streets and they light cars on fire. I feel like I've seen that somewhere. I don't remember where, but people out in the streets wearing jerseys from their favorite sports team burning cars. It's a crazy thing to me, but I would say that is out of hand. Now, if I just say it is that right now, then I won't say get out of hand. I will say it is out of hand. But if I want to express that it's currently happening, it's underway, it's kind of ongoing. Hey, we're watching it go from being under control, being in hand and under control mean the same thing. We're watching it go from the controlled state to the out of control state, so we use getting to express that it's moving from one to the other. But then when I talk about it in the past, the party got out of hand, I will use get again. I could say the party was out of hand, but I think got would be much more common in that specific case. Okay, now let's look at our last one. I hope you're following along. I hope you understand so far. They use social media to get information out as fast as possible. I'm trying to get the word out about my new writing course. Getting featured in the paper really helped get the word out. Word got out that Bernard was having an affair. Okay, so getting the news out, getting ideas out, getting the word out, this is really common to mean many people don't know about it. Nobody knows about it. And then over time, because of something that happened or some reason or some medium, now more people know about it, or that's what we want to happen. So they use social media to get information out as fast as possible. Maybe some government agency wants to tell the public something, and so they post on their Facebook or their Twitter account or their YouTube channel to tell people fastly. What is wrong with me? Did I just say fastly? Let me take a breather. Quickly, fast. What's wrong with me? Okay. They want to get the information out quickly. So they post about it on social media. They post it on their Twitter account. Getting it out means nobody knows about it, and now more people know about it. They want to make it spread. So getting the word out is often the same as spreading, sharing, announcing for others to see, right? In terms of marketing, that would be having other people know about it so that they take some action, like buying something. For example, I'm trying to get the word out about my new writing course. It's all been an excuse to say this. I just posted a new course, a brand new course. If you look in the links in the description, you will see a special discount link. It is a 9-hour course that talks about writing fundamentals, how to structure your writing. I feel very confident in this course. I think it's the best course I've ever made. I personally think it is really, really good and will teach you how to write clearly, whether you're writing cover letters, essays, emails, whatever. If you want to write well, take that course. I'm trying to get the word out by making phrasal verbs that ultimately lead me to say what I'm saying right now. Wow, amazing. Okay, so check out that course. Get the course at a special price if you use the link in the description. Okay. Getting featured in the paper really helped get the word out. So feature would be the newspaper shows that, right? Maybe it's a small company that just started and the company wants some press. They want some attention. And so they get the word out by asking the local paper to write a little story on them. And people see that and they find out about that new business. Okay, so getting featured in the paper really helped get the word out. Often when we're talking about promotion and wanting that to happen, we use get the word out. If we're talking about events, then we might say get the news out. If you're talking about maybe yourself and your thoughts, maybe you get your ideas out there. You're an author, so you start a blog. I started a blog so that I could get my ideas out there among the public, people who are interested in that. But sometimes it doesn't work. Word got out that Bernard was having an affair. So this is when we're trying to keep things secret, and this is the specific phrasing that you should use. You could replace this with it got out that Bernard was having an affair, but it's much more common to use word in this specific case. So something that was secretive, that they were trying to keep secret, that they didn't want other people to know, is now known, right? So Bernard was having lunch with his lover, and someone who knows that Bernard is married saw Bernard kissing this lady, or maybe a penguin, or whoever Bernard is with, and whoa, that's not his wife. And so they tell everyone else because they gossip about it. And so word got out. So that's when you're not trying to spread it, but it spreads, and your secret is no longer safe. Your secret is out there, and then, of course, usually a lot of negative consequences happen. In this case, probably as they should happen. Shame on you, Bernard. Shame on you. How dare you? Okay, so that is how we use get out. We looked at 5 different uses. Actually, we kind of looked at 6 because I scrunched 2 together, the get out of my office and the get out of the way. But generally, we looked at 5 different groups. Make sure you're using these, practicing them, putting them into writing. Output is necessary. If you want to really learn something, you can't just hear it and understand it. You have to hear it, understand it, and then have some output. That's why you have to do homework in middle school and high school. That's why they make you do things, because if you just sat in class and understood everything, you wouldn't now suddenly be good at that, right? You had to do 40 math problems in the evening. That's called homework. So I'm giving you some homework. If you really want to master phrasal verbs, you have to practice making examples. I know it's not extremely fun, but you can do it relatively quickly. These took me about 15 minutes to make. It shouldn't take you much longer. And once you get a sense for them, if you complete my challenge, once you get a good sense for them, you will be able to use them naturally in your daily life automatically without having to think about it. So that's my challenge. Do check out the writing course and the links in the description. And if you haven't done so, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Okay, or show support wherever you're watching or listening. I know some people prefer to listen if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I hope that my explanations of things helps. If I'm not being clear enough or I'm not saying enough, please let me know. I want to make sure the listening experience is as good as the viewing experience. I appreciate those who prefer to listen rather than watch. Sometimes you don't want to sit down and watch something. Sometimes you're out on a walk, or you're feeding your penguins, or you're shooing away a horde of zombie turkeys with an umbrella, or you're doing laundry or housework and you want to just listen instead of watch. I want to make sure that experience is just as good as the video experience, and so please do give me feedback. Reach out, let me know how I can make it better to listen to. I want to make the podcast as sort of device and input agnostic as possible. I want it to be a good experience all around. So feedback is always welcome. And as promised, what I'd like to do now is share a short clip from Seinfeld, because one of the characters from Seinfeld, Elaine, always says "get out," and you'll know immediately which sense she uses it in. Although in the compilation I'm going to show you, you'll see how she uses it in a slightly different way too. So let's take a look at Elaine saying "get out" for a few minutes, shall we? Here we go. By the way, if you don't watch Seinfeld, or you've never watched Seinfeld, it's awesome. I think it's better than Friends. I know that's a controversial statement, but that's my opinion.
And the rent is only $400 a month. Get out!
I just found a guy who's willing to pay $10,000 for the apartment.
You what? Get out! 10,000? I got a line in the movie.
Get out!
Yeah.
That's great! My God! My watch! You found my watch!
So you notice that when she says "get out," she's using it kind of conversationally She's not using it to express that she actually doesn't believe it. She believes it. She's just expressing that feeling of, whoa, that's crazy. That the emotional side of it, right?
Keep your hands to yourself if you know what's good for you.
For you.
Get out of here!
Get your finger out of my face.
You get yours out. I was here first.
I don't care.
Get it out! Get it out! Out!
Hey, all right. Hey, come on. Stop. Come on. Break it up. Hey! What's the matter with you?
Well, I was locked out of my apartment. I'm just trying to get my keys.
Why did you let him in?
He forced me to.
I did not.
Yes, you did.
You! Get out! Get out! Get out!
Wait,
Get out!
I need my spare keys.
Okay,
Oh, here.
hold on a second. There, how's she using it? Is she saying there, get out, as in, I don't believe you, or, oh, I'm shocked, oh, that's crazy? No. In this case, she's telling these two guys to get out of her apartment. Get out, get out, get out. She's angry at them. She doesn't want them in her apartment anymore. She's yelling at them. So, okay, we have the other usage there.
Here's your damn keys. You keep them. I don't want them anymore.
Good.
Oh, God! You're not doing California.
Well, I came back for you.
Oh, shut up.
I missed you.
Really?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, me too, miss. I miss.
Yeah, big missing going on. They open the door. My father flicks the light on. The whole place is cleaned out. Everything.
Get out.
There it's shock, right? Hearing a shocking story. Get out. Again, I believe it, but I'm not recommending you push people over. That can be a legal liability.
And here's the beauty.
What?
George is picking us up at the airport.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
What? How?
Okay, that's a common addition. Instead of just get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. But that makes it more conversational, I think.
My shoes now at Botticelli's. Did you hear this?
So what?
Me?
After you stopped seeing me, I was devastated. I couldn't eat for weeks.
Get out.
I met this deaf lineswoman at the tennis match.
You are kidding. That is amazing.
So there she says you're kidding instead of get out. That's kind of a replacement for get out. Get out. You're kidding. You're kidding is another way to express that sort of feeling of, what? Ha? You're kidding me. Are you kidding me? And if you ask the question, are you kidding me? The other person doesn't have to say, yeah, no, I'm not. You won't ask that because the point of saying you're kidding me is to express the feeling, the emotion of, whoa, crazy, not to express that you actually think that they're kidding you, right? Same with get out.
I'm in 13 years.
Get out.
Not since June 29th, 1980. You want to borrow Golden Boy?
Do you know what this means? It's like working with Tolstoy.
Oh, I don't know. He threw your organizer out the window?
What? How do you know that?
There's a clothing store downtown. They got a mannequin in there that looks exactly like Elaine.
Get out.
No, it's okay.
I have.
She's very violent. Elaine is very violent, which it makes her funny. That's why I love all the characters have their own very unique personality traits. And they're all they're all slightly sociopathic and evil. which is why Seinfeld is better than Friends.
Always had a big crush on Tim Watley. Why can't he ask me out?
Oh, you said dentist. You don't want to go out with a dentist.
Wait a minute. I know what's going on here. Skinny mirrors.
What?
Skinny mirrors. Barney says skinny mirrors. They make you look like 10 pounds lighter. I did it.
What?
I turned him. He defected.
Ow! How did you do that?
So there, I'm not sure if because Jerry says, get out there, not Elaine. And I wonder if there, he's saying it because he actually doesn't believe it. I think that episode was about she was trying to convert someone who was gay to straight, make them change teams. She said she succeeded. So I'm not sure. In that case, Jerry may have actually been saying get out like I don't actually believe you.
Writing for the J. Peterman catalog.
How did you get that?
I met him.
George Costanza
Yeah?
is getting married!
A little too much.
I'll
A
tell you
little
where
too
I
much
got it. I got it
oomph
from
on
the guy
that.
you so callously refer to as the soup Nazi.
I think that's a double meaning there, because on that one, Kramer actually does get out. She pushes him so hard that he actually gets out. Not because he tried to, but because she literally pushed him out. Interesting.
Nancy gave it to you?
No, I kind of tried to test his hearing.
Get out. What did you do?
Yeah. We got our own little private box here, don't we?
Stop it. Stop it. Get off of me. Get a hold of yourself. Get a hold of yourself.
She doesn't say get out there.
Hey, Elaine. Feldman was able to get us all tickets to the Bolshoi. Fourth row center.
Get out.
Well, you're not exactly zeroing
That one
in
is,
yourself.
I think that episode is where she's with a Bizarro friends. So they're 4 friends. They're similar to Jerry, George, and Kramer, but they're all very friendly because Jerry, George, and Kramer are all negative and pessimistic and narcissistic. They have big problems. But she's with a bunch of optimists, and she's realizing that her reactions don't fit well with their sort of very upbeat, positive attitudes.
Lady.
I think in that one they might have been trying to poke fun at Friends in that episode, maybe. Because back in the, I think, late 90s when they were doing these, they would have on Thursday nights, it was a famous time slot, Seinfeld followed by Friends, a half an hour for each one, side by side.
All right, get out. Get
Okay,
out.
so there, that get out is another get out of my office sort of get out. Because she's pointing at the door saying, all right, get out. She's upset.
Does it smell like the East River?
It does. How did you know? You're out. I'm in. Now hit the road. Elaine, what are you doing here? 88th Street, that's where Joe Mayo lives. That's the coat! Oh, no, I'm fine.
You thought? We're gonna die in the dark. I knew it. We're gonna die.
Get a hold of yourself!
Right, there you go. Well, I think that might provide at least a little bit more context to understand how Get Out works. If not, let me know. Again, if you have questions, put those in the comments. But I feel like you now at least you have a compass for noticing when you hear Get Out, how it's being used, the context, and then you can figure out what it means based on that now that you've seen the different meanings and uses. And Elaine mostly was using it in 2 different ways: shock and surprise, disbelief, and also literally asking someone to leave the room where they were or leave her apartment. So let me know if you have any questions, and also feel free to join the Discord if you want to talk more about Seinfeld, because we have a movies and TV show channel on the Discord, but we haven't been using it too much because the Discord community is still new. So feel free to join. Again, for now, that's free. You can join the Discord community, and we have some good conversations in there. Okay. We have talked about phrasal verbs. If you have questions, let me know. Now's probably a decent time. Let me see. I haven't been checking anything recently. Okay. Now, there was one more thing I wanted to talk about. I wanted to do a lesson review of another channel's English lesson. I wanted to sort of look at it and talk about it because it's an interesting one. But I think for today, maybe we can call it a day because we've covered most of the stuff that I wanted to talk about. But I would like to say, for those who are watching this later, who missed it when we were supposed to start, but we didn't start, I apologize for starting 4 hours late today. Stuff happened, and I will do my best to make sure that I'm on time at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday and Friday, as usual. I believe, having a regular schedule is important. For updates, though, I do recommend joining the Discord, and at least there you'll be able to communicate with me directly if you have questions about stuff. So today we talked about the modeling approach to learning grammar, not focusing on the names and the structures, but focusing instead on getting an intuition for the structures through real examples, picking apart those examples, and then building our own. We've also looked at stative verbs, those things which describe conditions, the current state of something rather than a specific action, how to use those and how to not use them. And we've talked about phrasal verbs. So, phrasal verb get out, very useful. I hope now you have a very clear understanding of that. We've talked about a lot of things. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate that. I would appreciate if you haven't done so already, do hit the like button or the thumbs up or whatever you see there to support, to let others know, to get the word out about these. This is day 4 of 15. So next Wednesday, we will be back at it doing day 5 of the 15-day program. On Friday, I will be back talking about other things. So stay tuned for that. Join for that. If you have questions, you can bring them for Friday. And then Saturday, Mushroom and I will be doing another kind of Q&A thing like we have been doing the last few Saturdays. That's Saturday morning. So thanks so much for joining. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day. Good luck practicing. Check out the writing course. Special price. It's over 90% off, I believe. 89 or 90% off. Hugely discounted, which is something I always do when I launch a new course. Grab that before that special price ends. It is the lowest possible price I am able to offer on my courses. Okay, so check that out. Grab the course. Start improving your writing. Like button and subscribe, of course. And I will see you, hopefully, in the next one.